Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel. As I can see on my part series on the week that was college football, college football's history and review. The 1954 college football season. This is the week that was college football's history and review. The 1954 college football season. It's a new season I'm going to be talking about. I already finished the 1953 season. That's over with. So now I'm going to move into the 1954 season. I'm going to go over week one of the games that were played during the 1954 season, week one, and keep it moving and call it a video. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment if you like the content for this channel. 1954 college football season was the year of the emphasis, no repeat rule, teams named desired, Junction Boys, and 23 Little Pigs. Now, the emphasis became a buzzword in 1954 as the presence of the ancient Ivy League, the schools that founded the sport, took control of their football. It was a takeover in the name of academics, greeted by much fanfare in the Eastern press. Ivy Spring drills were abolished right away, and internal Ivy League play was scheduled to begin in 1956. Pennsylvania was the biggest beneficiary because full-fledged Ivy play saved the Quakers from a 2-year all-losing killer schedule that included Penn State, Army, and Notre Dame. The Ivy League was one thing, the rest of major college football was still another. Defending conference champions like Illinois, Michigan State, Oklahoma, and UCLA certainly had no interest in banning spring practice, but even so, their respective conferences, the Big Ten, Big Seven, and Pacific Coast, had token gestures of the emphasis already in place. Each embraced the dreaded no-repeat rule that prevented a conference member from playing in 2 consecutive bowl games. The no-repeat rule would end up casting a dark shadow over the 1954 season. However, the South offered a plentiful number of no-repeat dissenters, namely the bowl-happy Atlantic Coast and Southeastern conferences. SEC members Auburn and Georgia Tech, both bowl participants the season before, happily went bowling again. Auburn beat Baylor in Jacksonville, Florida, playing its second of 3 straight Gator Bowls, and Georgia Tech defeated Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl, a 4th straight postseason win for the Yellow Jackets. Southern football people continued to treat the emphasis as a dirty word, but when Maryland slumped in 1956, former Maryland president and football coach H.C. Curly Bird snarled, "Let us de-emphasize defeat." But among the officially de-emphasized was Ivy League preseason favorite Cornell, who overcame a dreadful 0-4 start to achieve an end-of-season tie for the unofficial conference crown with late fading Yale. Among the long-standing bowl spurners continued to be Notre Dame, led by new coach Terry Brennan, the nation's youngest at 26. Brennan faced the unenviable prospect of replacing the coaching legend in Frank Leahy, and before the former Fighting Irish halfback finished 5 relatively mediocre years with a 32-18 mark in 1958, his results were criticized several times by Leahy, his one-time coach. In 1954, Brennan enjoyed the presence of Leahy's stellar veteran recruits, including quarterback Ralph Guglielmi, halfback Joe Heap, and Dan Shannon, and tackles Ray LeMec and Frank Varione. 23 players from the 1954 team would be drafted by the NFL, but Brennan soon would be forced to recruit as if he coached Cornell or Yale. A new regime, headed by Reverend Theodore Hesburgh, had played a big role in Leahy's cloudy departure and immediately sought a higher academic image for Notre Dame. So in effect, Notre Dame, everyone's image of a football powerhouse for most of the 20th century, de-emphasized itself for a time, even if it was not as extensive or as officially public as the Ivy League's approach. Notre Dame officials protested to the contrary, but Brennan's inability to recruit all he wanted of high schoolers caused him daily. His Notre Dame career would be over before the 1959 season. So U.S. Military Academy at West Point, another school like Notre Dame that rejected bowl bids, faced its own problems as coach Red Blake continued to deal with the lingering realities of an honor code scandal in 1951. that had stripped his squad to the bone. Blake admitted later that his teams never enjoyed the depth that he built during his school's glory years of the 1940s and in the 1950 season. But Blake's 1954 Army squad was outstanding and featured the country's most explosive offense at 448.7 yards per game. Cadets halfback Tommy Bell gained 1,020 yards, rushing with an astounding 10.6 yards per try average. Army led the nation in ground gaining with an average of 322 yards per game. Senior quarterback Pete Van was brilliant in mixing in long striking touchdown missiles, especially to All-America and Don Hollander, who averaged 29.1 yards per catch. So in its only loss to South Carolina and Navy, Blake's depleted defense couldn't overcome the absence of tackle linebacker Bob Ferris, the team captain who missed his senior season due to an eye injury sustained in the 1953 win over Navy. So Ferris inspired his teammates, however, by becoming a de facto assistant coach and representing his team for the weekly coin toss to start each game. AP writers, UP coaches split their decisions for the top spot in their final polls. And the no repeat rule destroyed a glorious Rose Bowl match that would have pitted AP champion Ohio State against UP champion UCLA for all the national championship marbles. Woody Hayes' first Ohio State team faced Southern California in Pasadena, while Pacific Coast Conference champion UCLA, a 34-0 winner over USC, stayed home due to league rules that prevent the Bruins from following their previous year's Rose Bowl face-off with Michigan State. So the Buckeyes had been considered no better than middle of the pack in the Big Ten team at season's beginning. But a superb defense and highly skilled two-way play of All-America halfback Howard Hopalong Cassidy and a huge newcomer at guard and sophomore Jim Parker paved the way for Buckeye greatness. Oklahoma enjoyed the first of 3 straight undefeated full seasons, but the Big 7 conference's no repeat rule kept the Sooners out of the Orange Bowl, so Big 7 runner-up Nebraska, a 55-7 loser to the Sooners, carried the conference banner to Miami. So the Cornhuskers were clobbered by 34-6 by Duke, a team that lost only to Army and Navy, but was not scheduled against defending national champion Maryland, the other top-notch ACC team in the conference's second season, with 2 undefeated teams, number 2 UCLA and number 3 Oklahoma, left to sit on the sidelines. The bowl picture developed so drearily that famed singer Bing Crosby suggested a charity game be arranged to match the Titanic Bruins and Sooners. The NCAA quickly scotched the Crooners' plan, which, while well-meaning, still failed to satisfy the obvious hankering for UCLA Ohio State Rose Bowl bout, which could have settled everything. Perhaps the national championship should have been left to a vote of the California Golden Bears, who managed to have all 3 major undefeated teams on their schedule. So with opposition that sported a percentage of 621, it was a little wonder California was a disappointment among the preseason top 20. Prognosticators took a pounding when Texas, Illinois, Michigan State, starting 4th, 5th, and 6th in the AP poll, also stumbled. Other top 20 preseason picks like Iowa and Alabama also fell short of expectations. Perhaps the year's most compelling story was authored by Navy, which, as a play on words of the Tennessee Williams stage play and 1951 nominated Best Picture, A Streetcar Named Desire, was given the nickname of a team named Desire. Coached by Cajun Eddie Erdelatz, the midshipmen were undersized and thin of reserves, but came up with countless clutch plays after trouncing Stanford and Duke away from home. Navy lost heartbreakers to Pittsburgh 21-19 and Notre Dame 6-0, but won its big one, a thrilling offensive battle from Army 27-20. Navy belted Mississippi by 21-0 as a thoroughly unappreciated Sugar Bowl underdog. Meanwhile, Texas A&M had a terrible year under new coach Bear Bryant, but the young team came together at a brutally hot and task-driven preseason training camp at Junction, Texas. More than 100 players departed College Station on August 31st, and only 35 stuck it out to return from Junction 10 days later. Those Aggies became winners in 1955 and conference champions in 1956. So in 1999, author Jim Dent will relive the Aggie players' stories in his book. The Junction Boys, and ESPN would turn it into a TV movie of the same name in 2002. Fast and Deep, Mississippi was criticized for a lightweight schedule, which fell one game short of the SEC's required 6. Commissioner Bernie Moore designated the Rebels game with Southwest Conference member Arkansas as official in the SEC standings when Bowden White's Cinderella Razorbacks pulled a 6-0 stunner. Ole Miss nearly gave away the SEC title. Almost 40 years later, Arkansas left the Southwest Conference for SEC membership starting play in 1992. The events of 1954 provide this tricky trivia question: when did Arkansas play its first SEC game? Technically, it was the October 23rd, 1954 game, which developed into a win against eventual conference champion Mississippi. After posting records of 2-8 and 3-7 in the previous 2 years, Arkansas surprised the nation and even Coach Wyatt by winning the Southwest Conference title after being chosen near the bottom of the standings in the preseason. So Wyatt employed a primary group of 23 unassuming but dedicated players, led by All-American guard linebacker Bud Brooks and speedy sophomore tailback George Walker. The Razorbacks became known as the 23 Little Pigs. Wisconsin fullback Alan Ameche won the Heisman Trophy, was a unanimous All-American pick, finished his career with 3,212 yards rushing. Ameche received national notoriety as having rushed for the most yards in a college career, but his ground-gaining total turned out to be 25 yards fewer than the 3,238 of Virginia's John Papitz in 1947 to 1950. In the two-way play necessitated of the times, Alan Ameche also was a top draw linebacker. Most teams stuck to ground-oriented offenses in 1954, but passing inroads continued on the West Coast, where California's highly unpredictable quarterback Paul Larson was the season's passing leader with 125 completions and 195 attempts. Larson's completion percentage of 64.1 set a new record at the time. His 1,537 passing yards helped him to second place in total offense behind Oregon signal caller George Shaw. As the nation's top passer, Larson extended the Far West 5-year grip on the title. As recent aerial leaders had been Don Heinrich of Washington in 1950 and 1952, Don Klosterman of Loyola of California in 1951, and Bobby Garrett of Stanford in 1953. Milestones that took place, substitution rules were somewhat liberalized to allow players to re-enter games during the last 4 minutes of the second and fourth quarter if they were on the field at the start of those quarters. In 1953, re-entry of any player had been banned until the new quarter began. Year-old Atlantic Coast Conference added Virginia, bringing its membership to 8 schools. Washington and Lee dropped football. The longest winning streaks that entered the season of 1954, Oklahoma had the longest winning streak at 9 games. Cincinnati and Texas had an 8-game winning streak. Coaching changes that took place in 1954, Iowa State had new coach Vince DeFrancesca, Kansas, Chuck Mather, Kentucky, Leighton Collier, Michigan State, Hugh Duffy, Michigan State coach. Minnesota had Murray Warmath as new coach. Mississippi State, Darrell Royal. North Carolina State had Earl Edwards. Notre Dame, Terry Brennan. Pennsylvania, Steve Sebo. Pittsburgh had Tom Hamilton. Paul Bear Bryant became new coach at Texas A&M. And finally, Tulane had new coach Andy Pilney. So now let's get into the preseason AP poll for 1954 to start the season. Notre Dame was preseason number 1, followed by Oklahoma at number 2, number 3 Maryland, number 4 Texas, and Illinois at number 5. The rest of the top 10 was number 6 Michigan State, number 7 Georgia Tech, number 8 UCLA, number 9 Wisconsin, number 10 Mississippi. The rest of the top 20 had Iowa at number 11, California at number 12, Army at number 13, Alabama at 14, Duke at 15, Rice at 16, Southern California at 17, Oregon at 18, Texas Tech at 19, Ohio State at 20. So, September 18th, 1954, the week that was, but actually the season started the day before that, September 17th, 1954, I believe. That was on a Friday, because there was 2 games that was played on Friday, by what I see. So September 17th, 1954, the season started on a Friday where Mississippi Southern upset number 14, Alabama, 7-2. So for the second season in a row, Mississippi Southern stunned the frustrated Alabama Crimson Tide in season opener, even though Crimson Tide coach Red Drew had declared it would never happen again to once mighty Bama. But in the first quarter, Alabama halfback punter Bobby Luna couldn't catch bad punt snap. Southerners took over on Tide 28-yard line. Eagles halfback Brooks Tisdale soon scampered for 17-yard touchdown and added conversion for early 7-0 lead. So Alabama didn't score until fourth quarter when reserve tackle Doug Potts blocked punt by quarterback punter George Herring and ball rolled through end zone for safety. Eagles won despite their poor offense, earning only 3 first downs and gaining 89 yards. So quarterback Bart Starr passed 8 for 13 for 94 yards, but threw interception as the Tide also lost 2 fumbles. On that same Friday, Stanford beat College of Pacific 13-12 as College of Pacific Tigers trotted out in gaudy orange and white stripes on new black helmets and jerseys. Proud Pacific led 12-6 on touchdown runs by halfback Ken Swearingen and Don Cornell with 8:40 left to play. But halfback Gordy Young's clutch 24-yard dash put Stanford in position for fullback Bill Tarr, who had 84 yards rushing on 18 carries, to charge over from 2-yard line for his second touchdown. With little faith in its nervous kicking game, Stanford called upon sophomore quarterback John Brody, who threw for 83 yards on 9:21 passing and an interception to sweep right in for winning conversion point. Terse San Francisco Chronicle story called it an inartistic opener for the Indians. Virginia Tech defeated North Carolina State 30-20 as halfback Howie Wright led the Gobblers to 317 yards rushing with 136 yards rushing on 18 carries and 2 touchdowns, including a 67-yard scoring run early in the second quarter. Now, North Carolina State, debuting on under Coach Earl Edwards, lost its 8th game in a row, but scored first on a 7-yard drive, capped by halfback John Zubaidi, 4-yard run in the last 10 seconds in first quarter. Big play came from Virginia Tech tackle George Priest, who nailed Wolfpack punter Ed Armit in end zone for safety that built 9-7 lead in the second quarter and set up ensuing Tech defense from quarterback Billy Cranwell for 16-7 halftime edge. Now Wright's second touchdown gave the Hokies a 23-7 lead in the third quarter, but North Carolina State launched the sophomore speedster halfback George Wagon Wheels Marinkov to 93-yard kickoff touchdown return and a second touchdown in the fourth quarter. Shutout was performed by the Maryland Terrapins over Kentucky 20-0 as the defending national champion Maryland changed names but failed to protect innocent all-new backfield of quarterback Charlie Boxall, halfbacks Ronnie Waller and Joe Horney, and fullback Dick Bilski spoiled Kentucky coach Blayton Collier's succession of Bear Bryant. Waller tallied 22-yard touchdown sweep early in the second quarter. Boxall sneaked over late in second quarter and fired 30-yard touchdown pass to end Russ Dennis in third quarter. Wildcats quarterbacks Bob Hardy until he went out with sour stomach in second quarter, and Delmar Hughes passed for 16 of 28 for 184 yards, but suffered 5 interceptions. Most damaging interceptions were by quarterback defensive back Frank Tamburello, who dashed 58 yards late in the first quarter to set up opening Terrapins touchdown. Fullback defensive back Bilski, who turned in his pick off at Kentucky's 44-yard line in the second quarter, except for their 7 turnovers. Wildcats' 310 yards of offense had similar look of Cleveland Browns from whence Collier had come. Another shot was performed during this opening week of the 1954 season in college football, where Georgia shut out Florida State 14-0. 14-0 Georgia over Florida State. Young Georgia squad, looking to end 5-game losing streak, sported a new look with the departure of NFL-bound star pass battery of quarterback Zeke Bukowski and Johnny Carson. Junior quarterback Jimmy Harper, although lacking some same poise as Bukowski had, passed well, if sparingly, with 6 for 10 for 100 yards and a touchdown. Harper capped Little Dog's 53-yard march halfway through first quarter with 5-yard touchdown spurt after he bobbled snap. Florida State broke in freshman quarterback Syed Roderick, who completed 6 passes for 109 yards. So in the fourth quarter, Georgia took over on its own 44-yard line. Lost fumble at Florida State 5-yard line when Giant Seminoles defensive end Tom Feimster made terrific play. However, Bulldogs regained possession at FSU 23-yard line when Seminoles fullback Johnny Griner lost fumble. Harper quickly pitched 21-yard touchdown pass to end Matthew Arthur to wrap up win. Texas Christian beat Kansas 27-6. TCU's slightly more experienced first unit was outplayed by Kansas under new coach Chuck Mather, but Horned Frogs used its all-sophomore second squad to tally the 3 touchdowns and run away with game that was 7-6 clash at halftime. So TCU sophomores attained 7-0 lead early in the second quarter when halfback Ken Weinberg got 22 yards with his quick pitch out to score at end of 61-yard trip. Kansas came right back to pull within 7-6 as sophomore quarterback Bev Buller flipped 10-yard touchdown pass to end Don Martin. Played that turn momentum toward Point Pepper Frogs came in the third quarter from vet defensive end Johnny Crouch, who dropped into flat to pick off pass by Jayhawks' other young quarterback John McFarland and sprint 37 yards to touchdown. Quick openers popped sophomore halfback Jim Swink for 10 and 67-yard touchdown runs in the fourth quarter as TCU youngsters continued to outshine their elders. Rice beat Florida 34-14 as under powerful Rice Stadium lights. Underdog Gators held 76 lead in the second quarter on halfback John Burgess' clever 31-yard punt return and his 1-yard touchdown run, followed by his conversion by quarterback kicker Dick Allen. Rice offense was completely blinded in the second quarter, so when half of lights flickered out late in the second quarter to cause 50-minute delay, including rearranged halfback intermission, last 3:24 of second quarter was contested with second half kickoff being staged without delay. Nocturnal Owls suddenly felt right at home in Darkin Stadium. Rice backs halfback Morris Stone and fullback Jerry Hall, both of whom spent much of 1953 on injury shelf, sparked surge of 3 touchdowns in third quarter. Stone scored his second touchdown on 18-yard smash behind block of tackle Leighton Goldman in third quarter. Hall it set up and subsequent touchdown by halfback Dickie Mogul, who had 52 yards rushing on 10 carries and touchdown with important gains. Mogul created another touchdown by halfback Paige Rogers with his daring 47-yard punt return to Gary's 42-yard line. Critical mistake had come after Florida fullback Joe Brodsky 49-yard quick kick was nullified in third quarter. So it was replaced by a miserable 24-yard punt to Gary's 45-yard line. The igniting onslaught by Owls when score still had been manageable at 13-7. So Florida scored late against Rice. Scrubs on a 15-yard screen pass from sub-quarterback Fred Robinson to fullback Bob Visser. Stats painted losing picture for Gators, 4 lost fumbles and interception. Texas defeated Louisiana State 20-6. Blazing hot weather greeted fans at Austin opener in Texas. Competitive favorite for this season's Southwest Conference Cup, went right to work, avenging season opening loss of 1953. The Longhorns drove 80 yards into 21 exhausting plays to score early on quarterback Charlie Brewer's short touchdown dive. While checking LSU offense had only 2 first downs in the first half, Texas began another drive late in the first quarter, which bloomed 6 seconds into the second quarter. Steers halfback Billy Quinn dashed 16 yards and Brewer added 18-yard pass to end Howard Moon before sub fullback Don Maroney belted over from 2-yard line. The Tigers awoke early in the third quarter for 81-yard trip to pay dirt. Halfback Vince Pepe Gonzalez broke clear for 44-yard race down the sideline. But Texas retaliated with a 92-yard march before the third quarter, ending it as halfback Delano Womack scurried 37 yards to touchdown. Texas A&M lost to Texas Tech 41-9, as Texas A&M was just days removed from brutal drought Parch Junction, Texas training camp that would be made famous years later by the Junction Boys book by Jim Dent and ESPN's TV movie. Aggie started with drive to quarterback kicker Elwood Kettler's 35-yard field goal, but coach Bear Bryant's then 33-man rock squad couldn't cope with deeper Texas Tech and dropped astounding 10 fumbles. Red Raiders flipped 3 Aggies fumbles into touchdowns and made another touchdown after gaining interception. So Tech went ahead 14-3 for halftime as fumble recovery led to quarterback Jerry Johnson's 1-yard touchdown slant off tackle and halfback Ronnie Hurd powered 45-yard touchdown drive that overcame 15-yard penalty. Aggies halfback Don Watson lost fumble early in the third quarter at his 22-yard line, and Raiders fullback Rick Spinks navigated right in for 3-yard touchdown. Spinks scored again in third quarter after interception, facing a 35-3 Mountain. A&M halfback Billy Huddleston dashed 35 yards and 15-yard penalty was tacked on. Henderson scored 3 plays later from 3-yard line. Oklahoma, the number 2 team in the country, beat number 12, California, 27-13, as the confident Golden Spears blundered their upset opportunity with wrath full of miscues, but still trailed only 7-6 at halftime. California quarterback Paul Larson converted fumble recovered at Sooners' 30-yard line into the touchdown run in second quarter, but Bears had to trade it for a 7-yard touchdown run by Oklahoma quarterback Gene Cullen when Bears booted poor punt out of bounds at own 33-yard line. So Cullen listed as doubtful because of cracked ribs, inspired his Sooner teammates because he stayed in lineup to battle for 59 minutes. The decisive Oklahoma touchdown came early in third quarter as halfback Buddy Lee pitch option pass from near his goal line to end Max Boydston, who took it 87 yards to score. Larson and end Jim Hannafin pass battery, which would turn out to be the nation's most efficient in 1954, teamed on 16-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter after Sooners had salted away at 21-6 on Leak's 2-yard touchdown after center linebacker Gene Mears fell on fumble at California 25-yard line. So that was a big matchup at that time to open the 1954 season. Number 2 Oklahoma beating number 2 Oklahoma beating number 12 California 27-13. So let's look at the polls. There's a new number 1 with that win over California, because Notre Dame was preseason number 1, Oklahoma was number 2. But with that win over California, Oklahoma was able to jump past Notre Dame because their quality win over California. They went up to number 1. Number 2 was Notre Dame. Number 3 was Maryland. Number 4 was Texas. Number 5 was Georgia Tech. Number 6 was Illinois. Number 7, Michigan State. Number 8, UCLA. Number 9, Mississippi. At the 10th spot, it was Baylor and Wisconsin that tied for the same spot at number 10. Number 12, Iowa. Number 13, Rice. Number 14, Texas Tech. Number 15, Southern California. Number 15, Oregon. Number 16, California. Number 17, number 18, Army. Number 19, Duke. And number 20, Texas Christian. So that concludes a look at the games that were played during that week 1 season. To start the 1954 season. This is a new season that I'm going to be talking about. 1954, week 2 is coming up tomorrow. But the 1954 season, week 1 is concluded. So hopefully you enjoy everything that I presented to you and talked about in terms of recapping the overview of the 1954 season, and then getting into the other things in terms of the AP poll, the milestones, and the coaching changes, and then going over the week 1 games that were played that stood out during the 1954 season of week 1. So we're just getting started. Enjoy this ride. If you like this series, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, comment, do what you can to support. This is Rashad Mitchell coming to you live from my YouTube channel. Until then, talk to you tomorrow.